do you guys think about the NL East? Who do you think's going to win the NL East?
As much as it pains me to admit, the Braves.
Yeah, right?
Oh, my God. I can't imagine this, what the Mets are going through right now, that they could even get back into it. They can't hit for anything right now. They did today, but...
Yeah, beat the Nationals. Yeah, but everybody's beating the Nationals right now.
Well, that's not
Philly.
That's not hard to do.
You like Philly, Tyler? Pull it through.
You like Philly, Tyler?
I think Philly's got it.
See, Philly's just there. If they think Ian Kennedy's going to be their closer, they got another thing coming. I mean, he is not closing material. He doesn't miss that many bats.
No.
It's a disaster anyway. Whose bullpen is going to tell the least?
Yeah, it seems like at this point their bullpen is, I guess, immanageable. Is that something that you could say? Because you remember, Tyler, 2 years ago I called Gabe Kapler the worst manager in baseball, and now he's the best manager in baseball this year by far with the Giants. So explain that. Yeah, Joe Girardi comes over there, obviously, who's a very good manager, and he's still, I mean, they're doing better now, but he still hasn't done amazing things for that pitching staff. I don't know. That bullpen might be, I guess, unmanageable with the way they can't find a closer, and they can't find depth at all in that spot. Mm-hmm. Now, if they do make the postseason, obviously they could put some of their starters in now. You mentioned Gibson, who's pitched in the bullpen in the past, so he might have a little bit more experience than the average starter. And they still got Wheeler, has been great, and I know you like Nola too. So.
And remember how bad Washington's bullpen was when they won the World Series. They were one of the worst ever that regular season.
Right, but Dan Hudson became like a lights-out reliever for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Once you get into the postseason, it's totally different when you can manage your pitching staff a little different.
Well, the Yankees
but I think that the moves the Braves made at the deadline, because look, you figure if they lose Acuna, who's the best player on the team. I don't know. I think Friedman's the most valuable, but Acuna was the best player, and they lose him. They go out and get Rosario, who had 19 homers, 100 RBIs a couple years ago. Soler had the same thing. They get back.
Duvall.
Yeah, who absolutely killed them. Duvall, he killed about 17 RBIs against them alone this year with the Marlins. So just getting him helps them not to, because they're going to do all the damage. I know Max Fried, he owned Max Fried. They're getting good pitching from Smiley and Morton. Those guys have been I think between the two of them, they only lost one star since the middle of June.
Now Fried's turned it around, too. He was bad when he came back from the injury. Now he's back to that form he was last year when he was a Cy Young finalist.
Yep. I think that overall they made the moves because you remember when the Mets in 2015 when they went out and they got Kelly Johnson and
Juan Uribe.
Yeah. I mean, but that added to their overall depth because then their lineup became a little bit longer. And I think that's what Atlanta did. Atlanta just put out numbers. So if you have Soler, Duvall, Rosario, and then they got Rodriguez to kind of shore up the bullpen, it's not by any means perfect. But when their starters go deeper into games, that definitely helps them. Because early on in the year, that's why Atlanta was losing. Plus that dumb rule where you start with a guy on second base still. They lost 2-8 or something in extra inning games.
Yeah. They also lost the most games at that point in the season, I think, when they were leading in the 7th inning or something like that, so which doesn't help.
And they're bad in 1-1 games, obviously, because they're the only team with a positive run differential.
Actually, I don't know if you saw this, Mark. One of our shows that was with our network that just recently left us, they were all Atlanta sports fans. They were actually they showed this stat that the Braves had the biggest streak of alternating wins and losses in Major League history or something like that.
Wow.
Which is not surprising considering how streaky they've been this year, but still.
Yeah.
That's pretty
well, they get to within like one game of 500, then they would go 3 games under, then 2 games over. Then, so, but still, losing Acuna and being a factor in the National League East is a credit to them. They usually make pretty good moves. That's what real organizations do.
Just to get some of the comments, Ben responds to his trade about the Kings. Toronto would get Marvin Bagley and Korkmaz, who's one of the Sixers bench shooters, I guess, along with Hield in that deal. Carl says, driving, did he lose a bet? Tom Chambers, trash talk, referring to Brian Snow. Carl says, Tyler, you have a man crush on Girardi. And then he also says,
no, he's just a real manager I've seen in New York, that's all.
And then Carl also says, "Come on, Braves getting Jock Peterson was the best move of the deadline." Ha ha, JK. Yeah, Jock Peterson's a good bench player, Carl. I don't know why. I don't know why you're dissing Jock Peterson.
He starts on every other team in baseball, so that really doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where the dig is with Jock Peterson on this, Carl. Snug also says, "I'm surprised.
Jock can play.
I'm surprised people aren't just pissing in the corn." That would be kind of disrespectful, Snug. They put on this event, which is a tribute to a baseball movie like this. Great
movie.
Yeah, a great baseball movie. They get the corn.
Top 5 sports movie all time.
Yeah, they get the corn like renovated to the field sizes of today. They make it work. If somebody pisses in the corn, that would just be a whole. It's just really bad.
And how
luck.
do you just have that sit there? Like, that's not something you can do in a week and a half. Like, that's got to be maintained all year long.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to. Remember, it was also supposed to be planned for last year too, before the COVID. Yeah, Mark, are you about to say something?
Yeah, it is. I mean, they built that field out there a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't build like they did the stands and all that stuff they put in, but that's been out there for a little while.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They had to renovate it, the stands and not the field like you were saying, Mark, but everything else. They had to make it for the modern, I guess, baseball experience, I guess, more or less.
Mm-hmm. One of the people in the local radio show around here, they were complaining because they had a wall in the outfield, that they wanted it to be just no wall like it was in the movie. Mm-hmm. Where they just kind of disappear into the outfield. Right.
Yeah, that was definitely something that they could definitely do for effect. So, Snug asks, Speedy is the great unwashed. It's the great unwashed. Would it really surprise you, especially being from New York, where the sidewalks are open sewers? Again, Snug, it still wouldn't look good in terms of the event, though. Is my point. To piss in the corn like that.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
So, Mark, we were talking a lot yesterday with the NFL stuff with Michael Thomas as well. What were your thoughts with that that whole saga and the Saints' whole offseason saga swirling around?
Yeah, well, I mean, Saints are going to have some struggles because they're not going to have Breeze. So they're going to see how important he was to that organization. One of the better quarterbacks of our generation. And I mean, remember what the Saints were before Breeze got there. They were very inconsistent. They hardly made the playoffs. I mean, Bobby Hebert was their best quarterback, probably.
They traded their whole draft for Ricky Williams. Yes.
Yep. So it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. I mean, I don't. They're in a really tough division too. So I don't see where the wins are coming from. We were talking about the down here the SEC West. Where you have Texas A&M, LSU, and Ole Miss. Those are three, and then Mississippi State is going to be okay. Like, where is Auburn finish? Like, even if Auburn goes like 4-4, that's pretty good for them in that division. That's going to be even Arkansas is pretty good this year. So it's going to be a real tight division.
Who's the receiver they keep hyping up that's supposed to be really good in this draft for Arkansas?
Who's that?
A lot of draft experts are hyping up one of the Arkansas receivers as being one of the top draft picks.
Well, you see how good Elijah Moore's been for the Jets as far as wide receivers in the SEC that were not, Devonta Smith or Ruggs or Judy or any Alabama guys. I mean, Moore's probably had the best camp of any of the wide receivers.
Yeah. Snug says, well, yes, I hope the camera guys don't zoom in on the corn pissers. I agree with you on that. Michael Thomas should probably rehab his image at the University of Alabama this year, then come back to the league and be prepared to catch passes longer than 10 yards. Yeah, Snug, there's new NIL rules in place. I don't know if that's how it works to get eligibility back. And also, again, while he did play at Ohio State, which isn't a great system for producing NFL-type quarterbacks and overall NFL-type receivers, he still did very well with considering that. So I don't know if he necessarily needs more college stuff. I think he just needs to stay healthy or, again, hope this injury was just a one-time thing because he wasn't normally injury-prone before that for the first 4 years of his career. So I don't know about going back to college on that one, but yeah, okay. That would be quite a twist on that eligibility rules, though.
What do you guys think about the name and image likeness? How that's going to work?
I actually am amazed at a lot of the success it's had so far with a lot of the newer brands that are coming out with it. BYU actually, I don't know if you saw this one, Mark. They had that whole bar. The bar paid for all the walk-ons and the scholarship money that they got to do that with one of the bars at BYU, which is cool. Some of the other brands that have come out have been very good, though. And I like the way a lot of these athletes are really supporting the local brands, too, between different shops, different restaurants, stuff like that. And it's good. They're not trying to just jump. The thing that worried me a couple of years ago before I knew it, before it really got bigger with the whole branding stuff, was they were going to go too big at once and then they would mess themselves up. But they're really doing a nice job so far with it so far. And I give them a lot of credit, these athletes. And again, the way these brands have been working, because a lot of these guys had independent brands that they didn't get to grow because the NCAA was just so terribly restrictive for whatever reason. So it's good that they're actually getting to do it, and they're doing it in a way that that's not like too big all at once. It'll get bigger for them later. I know Bryce Young got $1 million or whatever with that, but
that can be dangerous because if you your offensive linemen are going to be pretty pissed off if you don't take care of them. Where you're the $1 million athlete and they're not, and they have to get up for an 8 a.m., English lit class. So I think that's the one thing I would worry about. We were talking to the coach over here at Jacksonville State. Mm-hmm. And it's like, a subdivision school. And he was talking about how it's going to affect him. The transfer portal really is where, if the players want to leave now, there were like 28,000 players in the transfer portal across all the sports. So it's just that rule alone has really changed a lot of things too, because if say you're at NC State and you decide, well, I had an okay career at NC State, I'm going to go ride the bench over at Ohio State or somewhere else just to have a chance at a national championship. I think that some of the players are actually going to do that since it's a lot easier to transfer now. So, that's something I think that might get a little out of hand. It'll almost become like re-recruiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's definitely been a wild card with a lot of these different guys, especially if they do want to brand something that's local or brand something within that school too, which is very interesting. And what they end up targeting with their own personal, I don't want to call it agenda because it seems like a bad word, but their own.
But it is. Kind of.
Yeah, their own, the way they want to push it type thing. Yeah. So.
But did you see about what do you think like Quinn Ewers over who's going to Ohio State? He should be playing his senior year of
yeah, that was interesting. But again, with these new rules, these eligibility rules, I guess there's always some loophole to that. Do you know the specific details on like how he ended up getting that? Because I know you're right. He was supposed to be eligible for next year, not this year.
Well, what happens is he graduated early, so he was eligible to be a freshman this year. But he still has obviously a high school eligibility left. But you can't take advantage of your name and image likeness in high school in Texas. Right. A lot of states have that where it's against the law.
Right.
So they figure, well, there were a couple of companies down there that wanted to represent him and pay him, and Texas wouldn't allow it. So his family said, well, what would we rather do? Play a senior year where he might get hurt and then he'll lose kind of all of the endorsement deals, or we'll just go to Ohio State now. There might be a chance where you could even play this year.
That's what I was hearing too. Yeah, they could.
Well, he's eligible, so he's going to be on the, at least in the practices and everything. And if he's good enough, I don't think he's good enough yet. But I think you're going to see a lot more of that, where these guys are going to almost like the prep basketball thing, where these guys are going to forfeit maybe a year or two of high school because they don't want to get hurt. And they want to take advantage of their ability to make money. You'll have a lot of guys trying to graduate early and enroll early so they can take advantage of that.